Hello! We're super excited to start this course with you. I hope you are too. But as you know, before we do, what I'd like to do is to give you a roadmap of what we're going to learn, the order we're going to learn things in, so that we have a path to success. So let's see what this course will look like for you. Now, obviously have to start off with the Vue fundamentals. These are the core concepts of Vue, so that by the end of this section, you can start building things in Vue. For those that are already experienced in Vue, this will just be a quick refresher for you. Now, after the fundamentals, we're actually going to go straight into a project, and this one's called the Perspective Playground. It's a really quick mini project we're going to build just to get you excited and show you how fast we can build things with Vue. From there, we're going to dive deeper into the developer environment. We're going to learn all the tools that Vue developers use. Things like Webpack, Sass, PostCSS, ESLint, Vue CLI, and so much more. We're going to make sure that you're going to have a professional setup. We're then going to dive into beyond the fundamentals, more advanced topics of Vue, and how we can build larger and larger applications using more advanced techniques. A lot to cover here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We then dive into a fun section, a quick section on transitions and animations. In this modern age, we need to make applications beautiful. They need to look smooth. They need to have animations and, well, transitions. So we're going to use the Web Animation API and a ton of other tools to build beautiful applications that look modern. We then dive into our second project, and this is called a quiz app. Now, the name doesn't sound exciting, but it's an exciting project. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to include all the things we've learned up until now. And by the way, all the projects in the course are completely customizable, so that at the end of the course, you're going to be able to make your apps look different from everybody else and be able to put them on your profile. As a matter of fact, in a few lessons, we're going to provide all the code for you so you can get started on them. You can add them to your portfolio right away. All right, this is the exciting part of the course. We made this a big chunk of the course because, let's be honest, if you want to get a job as a Vue developer, you need to be able to build large-scale applications and know exactly what goes into them so that you can make decisions for yourself. So we're going to build a big music project, kind of like Spotify or SoundCloud. And in here, we're going to learn all the top techniques, all the tools that you will encounter in real world. We're going to have file uploads where you can upload music and play music in the app. We're going to have authentication so you can log in, log out, have users. We're going to use a modern CSS library like Tailwind CSS to make your apps stand out. We're going to obviously use Vue Router to route to different pages. We're going to use Vuex for state management. We're going to learn how to deploy our apps to production and how to have a nice workflow so that we can constantly improve our apps when they become public. This is going to be a really fun one, and you're going to be amazed how quickly we can do this. And then finally, we have to talk about performance. Our job here isn't to just teach you the basics, but to actually teach you how to architect apps, how to develop apps that are large, that can scale, that can be viewed at the same time by thousands, millions of users. It's going to get you prepared to start building these large Vue projects. And then we have this one. This is a topic that not a lot of courses out there cover, but we think it's really important. It's called internationalization. How do you handle an app that needs to have multiple languages? Maybe you have both English users and Spanish users, Chinese users and French users. How can you make your app change languages? And this is where internationalization comes in. Now, this is going to be a full stack app. We're going to be using Firebase and make sure that your app can have as many users as you want and as many file uploads and music as you want. Here's the thing. We're going to make sure to cover the composition API. This is a new API from Vue that you're going to need to know, and we're going to make sure that we cover it in the course. And then we have these two extra parts that we're really excited about. We're going to show you how to build progressive web apps with Vue so that these apps work nicely on both web and mobile. And then another important topic that often doesn't get covered, and that is testing. We're going to show you how to test Vue applications, how how to write unit tests using Jest, but also cover topics like snapshot testing and end-to-end testing. As you can see here, we have a lot to cover. It's a big course. We guarantee you that you'll come out of this course a top Vue developer and that you're gonna fall in love with Vue. But for those that have seen my other courses, you know I have to mention this because this is my favorite part of all our courses, and it's right here. Our online private community of over 400,000 engineers. We have people here chatting every day, helping each other out, solving problems together, and working together as they complete the course. This is an optional resource for you to use so you can have back and forth conversation, have other classmates, so you don't feel like you're doing this on your own. All right, I'm getting sidetracked. I know you're getting excited. I think it's time for us to dive into the world of Vue and become masters of Vue.js. Let's get started. Hey there, this is Andre. You're about to dive into the course. But here's the truth. Most people won't finish this course. Why? It's because doing a course from the comfort of your home is going to take something away that is one of the most critical parts of doing anything challenging and worthwhile. Accountability. It's a lot harder to stop going to elementary school than to stop watching an online course, right? But here's the thing. There is a way to guarantee right now that you will finish the course and you will get through the ZTM courses no matter how hard they get. And trust me, it's going to get hard because we want to teach you really valuable skills, and they are valuable because they're hard to acquire. And this is why you're here. If you don't finish the course, it's a waste of your money. But if you finish the course, we truly believe it will get you the skills that you want. So this is what you're going to do that might put you outside your comfort zone, but it will be extremely effective in increasing your chances of success. Ready for it? You're going to come join our online classroom. In the next lecture, I'll provide a private link only for ZTM students. In there are 3 things I will ask you to do. 1 is to introduce yourself to the community. You can share as little or as much as you want about yourself. I'm going to finish X course by this date, and put that date in your calendar too. Number 2, go to Accountability Buddy's channel. Oh, that's a mouthful. And find someone who is starting a ZTM course right now at the same time. It doesn't have to be the same course, and you can have multiple partners. You're going to make sure that you each finish the course and the goals you set out to do. Finally, number 3, hang out in the general chat and talk about anything that you want. You will also have course-specific channels that you can chat in. You want to be surrounded by other learners like you to stay motivated and being part of a class. Now in here, we're also going to have virtual hangout sessions with myself, other ZTM instructors, and students. I recommend having the Discord server open as you go through the course and as you are learning. Now, I'm not saying this to sell you something. This is simply a fact of learning. When you learn in a group, when you surround yourself with other learners, when you have accountability, you are more likely to succeed. It's a fact. Finally, throughout the course, as you encounter problems or challenges, don't give up. Come back to our Discord server and ask questions and get help. But most importantly, as you start to learn and grow your skills, come here and help out other students. Teaching and helping others is one of the best ways to retain the information you just learned. If you create this routine around your learning, opening up Discord, start watching the lessons, surround yourself with others that have similar goals to you, you will have the accountability and the support system to finish the course. I promise you. Oh, and another fun bit, when you finish the course, you post your certificate in the alumni channel to become an alumni. And then who knows, the people that really are stars of the community become star mentors. Ooh. Now, this all may sound silly. You may say that you don't need anybody. But trust me, we've been doing this for many years, and there is this consistent trend of those that finish the course, get hired, and find success in their careers. You have to do the things that are uncomfortable sometimes to succeed. So that's it. See you in the next lecture and see you in our community. Okay. So we have the age-old question. Which one is better? I mean, we all know these front-end tools, right? Angular, Vue, React. We've read numerous articles to figure out which one is better. And the thing is, this topic has been discussed way too many times. But I want to approach this subject a little bit different. Imagine you were asked this in an interview. Which is better? How would you answer that question in an interview? I'm going to try and attempt to give you the right answer to give in an interview if this was asked. And hopefully by watching this, you'll understand the power of all three of these and also get you excited about learning Vue. So, which is better? Pause the video and try to think of the answer. Now, in order to figure out which is better, which, as we'll find out, is probably not the right question, we need to learn a bit of history. I know, history lessons, but I'm going to try and make it fun. First, we had Angular, or AngularJS, and it was developed by Google in 2010. So out of these three, it's the oldest. Now, in its current stages, it's a TypeScript-based JavaScript framework. In 2016, Angular 2 came out, and it was a big change. It went from AngularJS to just Angular. But it was the original powerhouse that came out of Google, and it took the front-end development world by storm. Now, between 2010, when it first came out, and 2016, when it got updated to just Angular or Angular 2, something else came along. And that was right here, React. It was developed at Facebook, which is a pretty big competitor to Google. It was released in 2013. Now, Facebook used React extensively throughout their products like WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram. And React was able to get a share of the Angular world because when Angular announced that they're going to make the big changes in 2016, well, React came along and gave developers a different option, a substitute. Now, Vue came into the scene in 2014. And it was created, unlike the previous ones, which was created by Google and Facebook. This one was created by a single developer. His name was Evan You, and he used to be an ex-Google employee. And he saw how Google developed AngularJS and also saw some of the parts that React did well. And he tried to combine these two into something hopefully better. All right, but that's enough of a history lesson. Let's talk about what each one does. And in this case, I want to use a kitchen example. It's my favorite example to talk about these tools. Angular, you can think of it as an entire kitchen. It's a framework. What does it all mean? It means it's feature rich. Everything is built in. If you need something, Angular usually has a built-in solution. For example, if you need to do an HTTP request, you need to have different routes on your pages. All the tools necessary for you to build an app, Angular gives it to you so that you as a developer, you don't have to make the decision of what tool to use. Angular has everything built in. If you want to cook a pizza, well, you just use the Angular Kitchen, and the Angular Kitchen gives you all the tools that you need to build or to bake that pizza. React is the exact opposite of Angular, and that's why React was able to capture some of the initial developer excitement that came from Angular. Because React had a different philosophy. React said, hey, here's the oven. All I'm going to give you is the oven. And in this case, the oven meant just the view, just the UI layer to build front-end applications. React had less features, but with less features, you had more options. You can pick the fridge that you want to use. You can pick the stove, the table, the cutting board, whatever you wanted to. You can mix and match and just use the React oven. So this meant more options, more community-built projects around React. And as a developer, you have to manage everything. The decisions that you make to build out your pizza have to be good with React, but you get to pick what routing library you use, how you want to do HTTP requests, how you want to manage state. In React, you pick. Now Vue, like I said before, wanted the best of both worlds. So Evan You came up with this. They gave you the fridge and the oven, but none of the other stuff. For example, Vue gives you routing, state management. Those are built in. But some aren't, that you still get to decide how you want to build it, like forms. And we'll learn all about that throughout the course. So we understand this. All of these tools, frameworks, and libraries, at the end of the day, what they do is allow us to bake this pizza. And in this case, the pizza is the UI, the user interface, the website, the web app that we want to do. So all of these three do one main thing, and that is UI and DOM manipulation. Change something on the website to make it look interactive so that users can interact with our websites. And they provide the tools for you to do that instead of just plain old JavaScript. So those are the similarities, right? They want to change the UI, manipulate the DOM to make apps interactive. The other thing that they have in common is this. For example, my website over here, zerotomastery.io. It's built around the idea of components. And Angular, React, Vue, all of them have these principles in mind. For example, when we talk about components, it's the idea that apps are built around little blocks that come together to build a page. For example, this is a component, this is a component. This course card is a component, this button is a component. And what a developer does is we build out components and put it all into a page to have a functioning page. So you can start looking at things as components. This is a component. The image of a student is a component. The text is a component. These buttons are components. All three of these frameworks and libraries allow you to build components and manipulate the DOM to make interactive apps. All right. This video is getting long and you're already getting bored, and come on, Andre, just tell us which one is better. That's what you're here for, right? Well, if somebody asks you this in an interview, how should you answer it? That's how we started the video, right? Well, when somebody asks you this, you should say back, what does the team look like? Let's talk about this. Somebody in an interview asks you which one's better, and you ask back, what does a team look like? Why is this a great answer to an interview question? You see, at the end of the day, the ingredients to build our apps is our programming ability. It's JavaScript. All of these are built on top of JavaScript. So our ingredients is the JavaScript, is the code that you write. That's what matters the most. Good ingredients lead to good pizzas. Well, not really, right? You also need good cooks, and that's what you are. You are a developer, you are a coder that is able to take this JavaScript, use the framework like Vue to allow us to bake and produce really nice applications. The ingredients, yes, they matter, but we have JavaScript for that. Your job as a cook is to develop, to code things in a nice way to build nice applications. So when you see things like, hey, which is more performant? Most of the time, it doesn't really matter. What matters is how you build the application, how you code, how you structure your code, which affects the performance and how your app does. And that's what we're going to teach you in this course. So the question, what does the team look like, matters a lot. Because you should pick the framework or library that the team is most familiar with. If you have a bunch of React developers, you should probably pick that one because all those developers are productive with React. Why learn something else? Or maybe you have a massive team of hundreds and hundreds of developers. Well, Angular is one of the most mature frameworks out of the lot. And although it has a steep learning curve, Angular is a good choice because, well, you have guardrails. You have a whole kitchen for your developers, for all your developers to make sure they do things the same way, in a standard way. So Angular is great for those big companies with lots of developers, but those that don't necessarily want to make the decisions of how to place each of these tools together. Angular just says, hey, here's one way to do it. React might be great for, let's say, startups or people that want flexibility. If you trust your development team to make the right decisions, to combine different libraries and tools together with React to build something great, well, you should pick React. React has a lot of options, but be warned. I've been on numerous projects where React was used and mismanaged. Because you give developers so many choices, they end up picking the latest, hippest library and tools and mix everything together and create a cluster of complexity and a mess. So React can lead to some really poorly built application. And this is why I'm excited to teach Vue here. Vue mixes the best of both worlds. Vue, as you'll see, is going to get you really productive. It's going to allow teams to build things fast. It's going to provide some really good tools like routing, like state management out of the box, so you don't have to pick and choose, and you know exactly what the best way to do something is. It's also backed by some really big companies like Alibaba and Baidu, but it's a community-built project or community-supported projects, unlike the other ones that are backed by Google or Facebook. They really focus on developer productivity. They're not really worried about what's best for Google, what's best for Facebook and their products. They're worried about what can they make developers do and how can they do it in the most efficient, best way possible. Whew, that was a lot of talking. But I promise we'll get into some coding. Hopefully this was useful. Next time you get asked the question in an interview, what's the best? All you have to say is, what does a team look like? It all depends. And in this course, we're going to learn why Vue might be a great option for your team, for yourself, and for your future startup. So, enough talking, let's get into it.
We haven't had the opportunity to write a single line of code yet. However, I wanted to create this lecture to discuss an API that's had a bit of controversy in the Vue ecosystem. Vue 3 was recently released. With this release, they've introduced a new API called the Composition API. It's a different way of building Vue applications. The announcement had some mixed responses from the community. On one side, there was hostility and criticism. On the other side were praise and joy. Regardless of where you land on the spectrum, the API was added to Vue. It's here to stay. This course goes over both APIs. I'll discuss the differences and why you'd want to use one over the other. It's important to learn both, as you may work on projects that use either one. The same goes for finding more information on how to perform a particular task. You may come across a tutorial that uses one API when you want to use the other. By knowing both, you will be able to adjust the code to the API you're using. You don't have to compromise on sticking to one API. We'll start with the Options API because it's the simplest to learn. As a beginner, you will have an easier time understanding Vue with the Options API. Once we've gone over the fundamentals, I'll introduce the Composition API. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm mentioning this now because I know some of you are already Vue developers looking to learn more about the new version of Vue. You may have heard about the new API and are curious to learn about it. If you're someone who has no experience with Vue, that's perfectly fine. The main point I'm trying to convey here is that we'll be learning how to approach Vue in two different manners. By the end of this course, you'll completely understand what I'm talking about. One important point I want to stress is that the Composition API doesn't replace the Options API. It's hard to understand until we dive into the code. But believe me, the Options API is here to stay. I wanted to get this out of the way. We'll talk more about it as the course progresses. Once you're ready, let's begin.